Testing. Testing. I think we're good to go. Can we hear me? Sorry. Can you guys hear me all right? I forgot to turn. I keep on forgetting to connect this mic. I think it's my audio. This mic though. What's up? Hey James. How's life, man? Oh man, this has been my longest break from doing YouTube and like coding and everything. I did not code Friday other than on at work on Friday, but we don't talk about that. I'm talking about professionally Friday, Saturday, or Sunday because I flew out my girlfriend's sister to come see April, and I took him to some dinners. God, I think we spent $500-600 on dinner. We went to sushi when they got here. So we did sushi, we did Brazilian steakhouse, then we did all you can eat Korean barbecue, and then like 2 breakfasts. We just, you know, they're younger, they're in the grind, they're struggling, right? So I want to take them out, get some good food in them, take them some nice places. So it was a good time. Um, it was fun. We went to a small little theme park that you could bring your dogs to, which is pretty dope. And just really hung out and caught up. So I'm good, man. I'll be honest, I'm pretty tired because I had to drop them off at the airport at like 5 a.m. this morning, which is even early by my standards. But I'm good. So for those of you who didn't know, real quick before we dive into it, if you didn't know, the podcast dropped, which is something really exciting. First 6 episodes are out. Selftaughtornot.com for more information where you can get it. It's all free. It's all free, baby. No, free money. Free. I say free money because you're going to make some money after you listen to this podcast. But yeah, seriously, if you guys didn't know, the Self-Taught or Not podcast that Eric Hanchett and myself partnered up on, 24 episodes. We launched the first 5. The 6th episode came out today. It was actually supposed to I need to connect my YouTube channel. There. Is Python still my best bet? I would say JavaScript, since it's the #1 used programming language, is your best bet. Python's good for data science and machine learning and all that sort of more sciencey type stuff. How do you feel about static site generators like Gatsby? I feel like you're just wasting time and money and resources. That's how I feel. You're better off spending your time on something dynamic because that's where the money's at, not static. No one wants you to build static websites anymore. No one who's paying good money, I should say. It's not 2002 rather. You got to make that real cash money. I'm sure it has its place, but it's just not anything I would ever mess with. I just don't like wasting my time on things that aren't gonna, pay dividends, I guess. Um, but yeah, so that was this weekend. Dropped the podcast. The new episodes will come on. If is web development your best bet? I would say so. Web development's a great place to get started and really growing field. So JavaScript, HTML, CSS is a good place to get started when you're getting up and going. But yeah, Josh, I'm doing pretty good. I'm tired. I'll be honest with you. I'm tired, and what's funny is for all the side projects Eric and I have, it's the shortest episode of 20 minutes. Everything else is like 30 minutes to an hour plus. But like for whatever reason, the side project stuff was like it was like 20-minute episode. I don't even know. I don't even know how that even happened. I think we were both really tired when we filmed it. It was a good episode, still the same. But like I all right. There we go. I'm glad you like Self-Taught or Not podcast. I actually have to add it to the it's on the to-do list of actually going into the channel and updating it and adding it on there. So I'm pretty happy with how it came out. We have a couple more episodes we need to film, but we have like 17 of the 24 released, and we're doing one a week, releasing after the initial 5. So, pretty cool stuff. Yeah. You're a university student and you want to be a full stack developer, but not feeling very confident. Well, what I would say is that confidence, what happens with confidence, funny thing with confidence is when you are determined and you're actually putting the effort in, you become very confident once you start seeing those gains. Starting job applications this week, good for you, Movado. It's good for you. When is Dolan the Wix developer coming back? I miss that guy. I have a great skit plan with Ricky. We just got to find time to do it. A lot of my time's been going into. If you haven't noticed, I've been building video dev docs, which is my latest web app that I'm actually planning on releasing to the world, which is pretty exciting. It's so funny. I create so much content, like in terms of like videos and tutorials and podcasts, that I haven't really released a web app, and that was something I just needed under my like I needed that. I needed to release a like a real web application production level that is going to that I can point to and be like, yo, something that I'm very proud of. So I'm that was something I really wanted to do. So I was pretty happy to do that. Is your web app sort of like a more modern W3 Schools? Yeah. So the premise of it is a more modern, a faster, a more lightweight, but the real and better UI, all that sort of stuff. But the real premise of it is that it's video based. So you could think of W3 Schools but with videos. And so initially we're going to launch with just the videos. Phase 2, we're going to launch with text. We're going to do a JavaScript launch, and then we're going to integrate HTML, CSS. We're going to focus on things that don't change, like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. They get expanded upon, but they don't really change anymore, and that's what we're going to be focusing on. So I'm not going to dive into frameworks, or not, at least not in the beginning, because there's so much content I need to make on top of that. Just graduated from boot camp. Felt like it was rushed. It's always going to feel that way. So, yeah, W3 Schools, and to give so I don't ever do anything without think of how I'm going to monetize. I should say I don't ever do anything. I volunteer for free all the time. But uh, to give you an idea how much money W3 Schools makes, I looked it up one day. W3 Schools makes around $35,000 or $37,000 a day as of 2016, and I think it's only gone up. So you take that and you say, well, if I can steal 2% of that, if I could become just 2% as successful as W3 Schools, that's quite, we're talking about 30 grand a month, something like that, or 15 grand a month. So. Do you think you can really get a job as a full stack dev without a CS degree, even compete with CS devs? Well, I make over $130,000 a year with my bonuses, and I don't have a degree of any type. So, do I think I can compete? Absolutely. Um, but I had to do other things to get above that. I had to build projects. I had to get certificates. I had to showcase that I was better dev than those people with CS degrees most of the time. Um, What do you think are profitable niches building websites for small to mid-sized business for freelance stuff? Um, I mean, I think the most profitable is just building your own stuff while you're working for a corporation, because that's what I do, and I could tell you I make a lot more than the average freelance dev. Any tips? If you know enough to build feature/apps, go build feature/apps. And if you can get someone to code review it, do that, because then you'll start leveling up. Once you start working in a team, you'll start realizing that you can level up as long as you're in a good team. So, but yeah, so the best thing I would say for people, if your goal is to become a better developer, the best thing I would say, is go start working for a company for about a year, learn everything you can there, jump jobs for a 20, 30K raise. And the whole time while you're doing this and getting better, you're building up passive income streams outside of work, whether that's whatever your side project could be. Go and do it. What would you need for a side project in order to quit your full-time job? Money-wise, I could probably quit today and be okay for a little while, like a little while being like 2 years. I wouldn't be comfortable. I wouldn't be able to save up money, but I have zero debt minus my home, and I already make around $2,000 to $3,000 a month in passive income. So, um, if April was working, I could do it today. But I would say I would want to make at least $100,000 of passive income, semi-passive. When I say passive, I mean my side projects are making me $100,000, and um, although I make less money on my side project wise, they probably require less effort, and I enjoy it a little bit more and they retain their value. So like if I go into work for 2 weeks, I get paid for those 2 weeks, but they don't make me anything next month. You know what I'm saying? So I value that a little bit more, as maybe I make less per hour this month, but it's going to have residual income effects. So. Have I ever used front end masters? I don't believe so. But yeah, so if your goal is to make money, what I would say is, first off, start using your money to make money. Secondly, there's various ways you can do that: through investing, through paying off your debt. Pay off your debt first, then save up some money and move forward. I've been actually been thinking about doing a series on being a digital nomad. From your experience, when you're hiring someone with experience, do you run them through data structure algorithm questions? So I usually ask core competency questions, things that you should know, things to see if you're up to date, if you worked in modern technologies, if you value the same things I do, like testing, modern JavaScript, if you understand higher level things like MVC, solid principles, asynchronous versus synchronous code. Now I will, if it, depending on the workplace, I will need to go and ask a basic algorithm question, a FizzBuzz sort of thing. Let's just see if you can problem solve. I'm not going to give you a two-dimensional array and have you do anything like that, but I am going to say, hey, take this array of values, print out all the even ones. That might be an introductory one. I might say something along the lines of, take in a number, and if it is evenly divisible by 3, print fizz. If it's evenly divisible by 5, print buzz. If it's evenly divisible by both, print fizz buzz. And if you can't do something like that, you're not on my team. You should be able to have a gun held to your head and be able to do fizz buzz. That's how comfortable you should be with something very simple like that. Yeah. Unfortunately, although I haven't been able to give algorithm questions for some time, at previous workplaces, I would say 9 out of 10 people fail. At previous workplaces, we would ask people to reverse a string, and they couldn't do it. And then we would ask the FizzBuzz, and they couldn't do it. Yeah. It's not about memorization either. So like, April's learning these algorithms and things like that because she's prepping for boot camp, and she's like, why would I need to memorize how to reverse a string? I was like, no, you don't. Although some people do go and memorize, that's not what you need to do. What you need to do is understand what is being asked. You're being asked if you can take a string and take the back and bring it to the front. That's what you're asking. And you don't need to memorize that it's, you split on a character, then you reverse the array, and then you join it as one way. Because what the first thing I ask so I asked one of the reasons I like asking reverse a string, because plenty of people will do okay, split, reverse, join. Right. That's sort of like, if you've ever had to reverse a string, that's going to be the basic example that you're just going to memorize and whatnot, and that's okay. But I will then ask you to solve it without using any methods. And if they can't do that, I don't want them on my team. If you can't reverse a string without having to convert it to a array, then then reversing it, and then joining it back together, that caused you to iterate through the string 3 times, 3 separate times. You only need to do it once. And I'll ask multiple questions, so you could bomb that, and I'll give you another harder problem. But yeah, it's a bit sad at times. Any tips about Java before my 15-week starts? Yeah, if you want to get up and going, there's a Java course on Codecademy. I recommend that you work through until you feel like you don't need to. I prefer Node over PHP. What's the hardest algorithm problem you gave to somebody? FizzBuzz. Look, guys, I know you think I'm kidding when I say that people can't solve FizzBuzz. Like, a lot of you guys think I'm bullshitting you, honestly, and I understand. But I ask people to do FizzBuzz, like that sort of difficulty, and people can't do it. So you got to get about an 80% with me, and there's some things that you can't get wrong. Like, you have to fully understand asynchronous code. If I ask you what the difference between a put and a post is, can't get that. You have to understand basic HTTP verbs. You have to understand promises. You have to understand some of these things, the fundamentals. Now, if you want to impress me, you know the solid principles. You're good with testing. MVC, responsive web design. Those are things that impress me. So. Yeah. How to become good with CSS? Practice. Just like anything else, man. Practice. Start getting designs for your projects made on Fiverr for $5. Implement them. Call it a day. Just practice. Yeah, man, that's how you get good with anything. Practice and have a game plan. So, yeah. Do jobs get weird if you prefer Windows? No. Unless they're a Mac shop. Dude, some Mac companies will force you onto Windows, force you onto Mac. So, I actually ask in job interviews if I can use the Windows, and if they say no, I don't take the job. The reason for it is not because I like absolutely hate Mac. It's that I've had to work on a Mac before, and the transition between working on side projects at home and on a Windows and working on Mac slows me down, and it frustrates the hell out of me. So I won't even do it. Google comes to me today and say, "Hey, you interested in a job?" I say, "Yeah." And I say, "Can I use the Windows?" They say, "No." I'll say, "Move on, Google." Like I am not even remotely interested in working on a Mac. Um, so, how much database is involved in web dev? It depends. What's up, bro? Self-teach or boot camp? If I was gonna do it fresh, and it's hard to really put yourself in that mindset where you know nothing to where you are. But what I would say is this: is that you're gonna have to self-teach, go to a boot camp, self-teach after. Um, so I would probably go to a boot camp if I was like 18. And I was just actually I take it back. If I was like it depends where you are in life, right? So if I'm 18 and I can live at home, I'm probably trying to self-teach and grind my way to the top because I know I can do it. I've done it. Um, but I would definitely consider going to a boot camp. So it just sort of depends where you're at. Do you offer mentoring? Yes, I do. So part of the reason I do these live streams, and we're a little late because I do it on Friday, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday I was busy. I do these to answer questions, try to help provide guidance and direction and all that. And I sort of consider this free group mentoring. But I do offer a one-on-one mentoring. It's pricey by most people's standards. It's $150 an hour. So if it's something you're interested in, you can email me at Dylan's email 310@gmail.com. So. Um, but yeah, a lot of that's like advice for dropout with no tech background, self-teacher boot camp. Well, I probably would have advised you to stay in school until you had an internship like I did. How was I able to build up the discipline that helped you to where you were at this point in your career? Um, well, for me, it was I just stopped. I couldn't be miserable any longer. That's the honest answer. Um, I was broke, I was hungry, I was miserable. I couldn't stand being in school any longer. And so I went all in. And when you're all in, when you're really all in and you understand that like, hey, you just dropped out of college after spending 6 years in it, you have to be all in. You got to pull the trigger. And I pulled the trigger, and I was no way I wasn't going to become a developer. Absolutely no way. And there's one or two moments of doubt, but that happens as you're sleeping in, and is it gonna happen? I tell people all the time that the one time I doubted myself was 6 weeks before I got my first dev job, and you know here we are. Um, but yeah, a lot of it's just it's a lot of it's growing up too, like understanding what it is that you want. Like, do you want to go and play League of Legends or Fortnite, or and be broke and hungry and not get your life together? I'm not saying not to play games. I play games still, but sometimes you got to put that shit on hold. Do you want to go out to the bar on Saturday, knowing that you're probably not going to code the next day because you're hungover, and feel upset with yourself that you can barely afford to go out, or do you want to like have like like take this weekend for instance? Here's an opportunity, something I was able to do for April, and her sister that I wouldn't have been able to do if I didn't get my shit together. I paid for her ticket for her and her boyfriend to come out here just for the weekend, for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because that's all they could take off to come out here, see her sister, because we've only gone back once in the last 3 years. So I flew them out, spent $700, $800 on dinners, no problem, to to treat them and have us have some good time and go to the theme park and whatnot. That is something that I'm happy that I'm able to do. And to get to that point, I had to have some discipline. I had to say, what is it that I want? And what I want is I want, at the time, I wanted not to be hungry. At the time, I wanted to not feel like a loser anymore, and have my mother bring me groceries, and you know that's what I wanted, and I worked very hard to get there. And so you just have to understand what it is that you want and be willing to do it. um Code life with Charlie, 20 days, good for you, man. Just make sure you keep on prepping to get there. How often do you use grid and flexbox? Every day. Does it replace floats? Yes. Do you lay out a path in that hour or so? It depends on what it is that you want to do. A lot of people, the majority of like my sort of mentoring one on one is, this is what I want to do. How can I get there? And so, in that sense, yes, we lay out a path and we talk about what's important. I always like to review resumes and LinkedIn's and go over that, because I think that's one of the most one of the most crucial things for people not getting jobs is just having a shitty resume and a LinkedIn. Who's April? April's my girlfriend. Do I do much back end stuff? Primarily at work, I've been doing front end, but I do full stack JavaScript at my current workplace. The API that I built for Video Dev Docs is Node, Express, MongoDB, Mongoose. I don't know anything about systems engineering. Sorry. Is it hard to get an entry level backend job, or should I expect to be front end web job first? It's not hard. It's about the same, I'd say. I think front end might be a little easier, but not by much. Relationship goal? Yeah. I mean, see, here's the thing, Josh. Like, people think so. Like, am I money hungry? Absolutely. I have no shame in saying that I'm money hungry. But what you have to understand is why you're money hungry. Why am I money hungry? Well, because I don't want to work until I'm 70, for one. So I want to make as much money as quickly as possible so that I can have as good of a life as possible. Because you know what? I got family. I got to take care of my mom and dad. Um, April. April's going to school again. So like here I'm able to support, and then I want to, we'll have kids eventually, and all that sort of stuff. So it's not like you just want money to hoard it and you're greedy. You know, money to help out family and have a good life and whatever. So, what goes on in that hour? It's a lot of like, hey, go use these resources, take this path. This is what I would do. This is where I would start. This is what I would do next. That's usually how it goes. Do you accept crypto for mentoring sessions? We might be able to work something out. I'd be okay with that. What should someone expect in a 3-hour in-person interview? That could vary by company, but I would say probably a introduction, 30-minute introduction about the team, who you are, followed by about an hour of technical questions, followed by about an hour of technical interviews, and then maybe about 30 minutes of a cultural interview. Any resources recommended for the self-taught route? It really depends on what it is that you're trying to do. I used completely free resources when I was getting started. And that was I did that in like free code camp, code academy, YouTube, some Udacity, free courses, stuff like that. What I think about the future of web dev, I think it's great. I think it's just going to keep growing. Everyone asks this question, but the stats support it. So what are we talking about? But yes, you can make a whole site in grid and flexbox as long as you don't need to support like IE 10 or 11. What is a cultural interview? It depends by the company. Some cultural interviews are there to see if they think that you'll work overtime. I In the past I was interviewed with Oracle, and I killed the technical interview, both of them, and they liked me. And I had the last cultural interview with the senior director, and that went okay. Um, and then they called me. He called me about 2 days later and said that he was going to pass on me because he thought with my side projects that I wouldn't be able to put in the overtime when needed. And so sometimes those cultural interviews are there to find out how much they can work you and if you're going to be the right fit. And in his eyes, I wasn't. And he's right, because I'm not going to work overtime for you um, and put my life in hostage for another job. But sometimes they're that. Sometimes they're, are you going to be a good fit with the team? Is it going to mesh well? Sometimes it's just to find out how good of an employee you're going to be. And even though you know, even though I killed that part of the interview, they didn't want me because they didn't think they could. The senior director didn't want me because he was concerned I wouldn't be able to work the overtime he wanted me to, which is fine because I don't want to work at a place that is your concern. uh, you feel comfortable arranging your starting salary at PwC? Sure, I'm at 115. I have a 115 base, and then I have 22 days PTO, 2 weeks of vacation, 1 week of vacation for 4th of July. I have 22 days of paid time off. I also get a week of vacation for 4th of July, a week of vacation for um, what do you call it? Christmas. I get a 13% bonus and then 6% into an investment account and then some match on a 401k. That's all. There you go. Is it hard for QA to transition to dev? It can be. And it's all remote? No. I work about 3 to 4 days remote. So, how old am I? I'm 31 years old. Do I need a secretary? What do I need a secretary for, man? It's not as much money as you think, guys. It's a lot more money than I used to make, but it ain't as much money as you think. The tax man taxes pretty heavily, let me tell you. I swear, every dollar you make, you see 30 cents of it, man, past a certain point. Uh, what was your first job? First technical job or first job? I'm in the Tampa area. So I worked a lot of different jobs as a kid. I guess not that many, but so I've been working pretty much steadily since I was 12. Um, and from 12 to about 16, I worked at my aunt's restaurant on the weekends. And then at 15 and a half, I took my first job bagging groceries at Albertsons. By the time I was 16, I worked at Albertsons for about 9 months, and I took a pay raise. Your boys, apparently, I've been jumping jobs since I could remember. But I went from 650. I want to say it was. It's been a lot. Oh, God, I can't. I think I was making 650 in California minimum wage at the time. I got like a dollar raise, which was like a 15% raise for me, to go to Whole Foods. I eventually left Whole Foods to go deliver pizzas at Rizzo's Pizzeria. And over the next several years, I delivered pizza at Rizzo's, Papa John's, and Domino's for the longest amount of time. Um, After that, when I was in M's spot, shout out to our boy M. Um, Um, I after that, when I'm buying you, I'm going to school during most of this. Um, but so after that, my first real role was I knew I wanted to drop out, and I took a role with a little web design shop called Dolly Web Design, and it was about a 3-month internship. It's about hour and a half, 2 hours each way. So I get up at I have to be there at 6. I get up at like 4:30, 4, drive there, work all day, drive back. Um, they hired me a little bit after that for some contract work. Didn't really work out too long. And then I took my first real role as a technology trainer at a student information system company that a girl I was sort of dating slash casually seeing at the time hooked me up with, which was really nice of her. Um, and then um, it's nice of her because we weren't seeing each other anymore, so it didn't end amicably. But she did me a solid, and she passed my resume along. I got the job, and then we then I that was a at a student information system company. You could think like Moodle. So I was working around devs, but I wasn't doing dev yet. But I do consider that my first role because they introduced to me things like agile, software development lifecycle, really just what devs were doing, and gave me access to devs so I could ask some questions and throw some, get some responses. And um, you know, there I was making 45,000. It's $22 an hour, which I think comes to 45,000, and that was a lot of fun. At 7 months, I went to them, and so when I took the role, I told them my goal is to become a developer. That's my goal. And so, at 7 months, I uh, I said to them that what was that ping? Something pinged in my. But yeah, so at 7 months, the I went to my boss and I basically said, "Hey, I told you I wanted to be a developer. Same thing we do." Nothing really happened, and then in the next 6 weeks, um, I started applying for jobs, and I got my first dev job out here in Florida, making $62,000 a year doing full stack development. It's pretty good, and here we are, 3 years later. Dylan, do you ever get worried about Tampa and future moves ending up like San Francisco, LA, or Seattle as far as cost of living, all the BS with cleanliness, etc.? Um, I wish Dude, I can tell you right now, I wish Tampa does end up like SF. I sell my house for $1 million and ride off into the sunset. But no, I don't worry about it. I would say probably my next move, I'll move to the middle of nowhere and work full remote, or part at least remote enough that I can get by. Um, I've got some coding experience, but no real credentials to represent them. It's the best way to show potential. What I'm capable of with GitHub, I think that's a good spot to start. I would also just suggest making a portfolio site, having projects out there in the world that they can actually click through. I think actually it's one thing to have repos; it's another thing to have something physical and tangible that they can play with and see. That's always much more impressive because the average recruiter, the average employer, the average dev's not going to pull down your repo and run it. Um, would you consider Tampa to have an active tech community? Um, hmm, it's really hard to say because I haven't been as active in the Tampa tech community as I was when I came down here because I've just sort of the last few I've gone to have been so low level that it's been kind of hard. But I would say yes, by and large, there's a lot of meetups on. There's enough meetups that you can go to several weekly. So in that sense, Kathy, I do think there's a good amount of opportunity and a good amount of meetups, and there are occasional like hackathons. I've gone to a hackathon or two in Tampa, so I think it's pretty good. Best place to find quality dev jobs um, from previous colleagues. Do I feel that a newbie full stack JavaScript developer needs to study object oriented programming, design, and analysis? I would say that it should be on the agenda. Ugh. Was I depressed when I first started learning to code? No. No. Um, what was I depressed of? Why would you be depressed when you first started learning code? When I first wrote my very first couple lines of code, I fell in love. In love. I loved it. I was like, yo, we found it, baby. We found our calling. Everything makes sense. And by the way, nothing made sense, but I liked it. I liked the coding. You know Lua and the basics of Python. What should I focus? I have no idea. Um, the easiest thing to know what to study and focus on is go search for the job that you want. Look at 100 job apps, tally what they ask for, and then see what the top ones are. I'm more of a doer and not a great idea generator. I work better if given a task to submit a feedback, and that's tough with no real projects to work on. Edward, so I somewhat understand. What I would say is sit down, and just start theory crafting. Actually, take the time to theory craft. Barry Black, self-taught or not, I've subscribed, listened, and loved it. Well, I only listened to episode 0, but so far so good. I don't. Thank you. If you guys haven't checked out our podcast, we did just launch it. I'm pretty excited about that. Self-taught or not.com. I'll take the episode 0. You get the 3-minute introduction. Can't beat it. I'm not gonna really talk about religion or race on a software channel. After all, so it's not that with my girlfriend's family was in town, and we talk about these things, right? Um, and I'm okay talking about it because one, it's verbal, it's not on camera, and two, it's not going to be shared with the world. One thing I can teach you guys, and I hope you learn this, because some of you I hope will go and create stuff that will go out to the world, and you'll share your expertise and grow and learn. But what you need to understand is that when you work for somebody else, whether you say you represent them or you don't, and by the way, I do not represent my employer, my past, future, or present. Um, you still represent them to some degree, right? So don't ever talk about anything controversial. Don't ever talk about, you know, you want to stay away from things like legalizing marijuana, um, politics, race, religion, all that sort of stuff. That's not any place on a software channel. Do I care talking about these things? No, I'm actually quite liberal and open about most of this stuff, and I don't really care. I think we should have probably the most controversial thing I talk about on this channel is money. As crazy as it sounds, because that's something that I think we need to talk more about. So yeah. I think I might go to bed early tonight, man. I'm feeling a little drained. Time to start our own cryptocurrency, get rich. Yeah. Can you review the best energy coffee drinks for programmer? Honestly, so I started drinking energy drinks again. Um, as I have been just sort of killing it on all these side projects, I dropped the ball a little bit of started drinking energy drinks, and I feel like shit because of it. So the best thing that you can do, and I've done this in the past, and I hate myself for not doing it right now, is exercise and eat healthy, and you'll feel great. What's the relationship between NoSQL databases and relation databases in the industry? It's been 50-50 in my career. Whether that's the whether that is um the norm, I don't know. Not, not couldn't tell you. Does coming to the U.S. help someone from India in their career? I would imagine so. Just because you're going to make higher salary, you're also going to be on site with the devs. You're typically going to be more professional and that because they're paid more and they have the time and resources and energy and they care more because of it. So I do think that it might help in that sense. Yeah, and that's the thing about it is the show must go on. You have to be able to grind. And I tell it. So I'm helping April learn to code, and one thing is we go to bed between 8 and 9, and I tell her, she's like, I'm tired. I want to study. I was like, listen to me. As someone who is tired quite frequently because they're working and working and working, once you can do it tired, you can do it awake. Okay? So we need to get you good enough that you can do this when your brain is jelly. So when it's not, you'll be able to kill it. All right? So try to understand that when you're learning the fundamentals, that until you can do it when your brain is jelly, then you don't have it quite yet. All right? If you can't understand how a for loop works when you're down to the 1 IQ point level of tired, then you don't quite got it yet. When you don't understand objects and arrays in depth till you have 0 IQ points because you've been up and doing it for 14 hours, you don't have it down quite yet. So once you can get it to that where your brain is just mush, just applesauce in there, then you got it. That's what you need to understand. So, um, how can I learn Android development? You could go and learn the technologies that Android developers are doing and then build apps in it. That's what I would do if I wanted to go and be an Android developer. Do I think there'll be a recession? I have no idea. I know a lot of people, from what I've seen in articles, are worried about it. What I would say, is that you should always be financially prepared for a recession. Barry Black, I am an if expert at JavaScript and have an impressive portfolio, would your company consider someone remote? They might. Why remote? Where you located? We're hiring in the Tampa and in the Dallas area. So if you're in either one of those areas. I work at my restricted websites I can visit. Not gonna tell you. No. What is the best way to learn an advanced skill? Go find advanced courses. Do I plan to have kids? Yeah. part of the reason I've been working on putting so much content out and trying to build up passive income streams is in 2022, maybe 2021, April or I are going to plan on having kids. So we got about a year and a half to 2.5 years. But in the meantime, saving up some money, getting an investment property, paying down the mortgage, getting everything financially ready. We could have kids today. I'm just not ready. I need a little bit more time. Where to find advanced skills? Search for what advanced skills you're looking for and you'll find them. I assure you. That's the thing about the internet. You'll always find the answer. Tell me what to do with my life. If you don't know what to do, just try some things. Try some things till you like something. Try that a little bit more. Seeing little Dylan's run around. Look, we're ways off, man. When's the wedding? We don't have a wedding planned yet. April hasn't decided if she wants to marry me yet. I told her I'm just gonna call her my baby's mama. I've always wanted to call someone my baby's mama. Have a little bastard running around. What are the most useful resources used to build up your programming experience? Books, courses. I like video courses. That's always been something really good to me. Introduce it now for high level stuff. I like books. So if there's something I want to learn about, like clean code, solid principles, I highly recommend. And I have these books in the description below. So if you want to hook me up with a little bit of affiliate money, I highly recommend Clean Code and Clean Coder and Clean Architecture. That's good starting points for that. Unnamed. That's exactly what I would do. Is it a bad idea for a dev to ignore TypeScript? Yes. The reason I would say it's a bad idea to ignore TypeScript is you need to get comfortable with static types. TypeScript, by and large, makes JavaScript developers better, in my opinion. It introduces you to concepts that other languages have. Do I work with any IT guys? No. The closest IT guy I work to is a DevOps guy. So. How in depth should a dev's command line bash skills be? Not very. It depends. I've had QA on my team. I've had QA on other teams. It also just sort of depends. Advice to learn coding full time: 2 to 3 days, or excuse me, every single day, 2 to 4 hours until you have a job. Every single day. Every single day. No breaks. Every single day. 2 to 4 hours on the weekends more. Every single day. You got kids? Doesn't matter. You got a wife? Doesn't matter. You know, you got one hand? Doesn't matter. 2 to 4 hours a day. Every single day until you have a job. Why? Consistency. Consistency is the most important thing. And when you get sick of writing code and solving algorithms, build a project. You get sick of algorithms project, go to a meetup. You get sick of a meetup, watch a video. You get sick of that, do a course. What if you have a job and might lose it? 2 to 4 hours a day. Every single day. Is Webpack a mandatory skill? Webpack is not a skill. Webpack is just a configuration that you memorize. If you do 2 to 4 hours a day, you will get a job. I want to create my own boilerplate, both front end and back end. What can you recommend? I recommend you just create a repo, get it configured to what it is that you want to do, and then use that as your starter project moving forward. So you have you know, you have a clean repo that you just pull down, and then you push it to a different repo when you want to. That's what I would do if I had a project, and vice versa. What you could do after the fact for that is you could I imagine there's a way to create your own command line interface if you really wanted to do something pretty advanced. But that'd be extra work that you don't have to do. I would just make the project, make all that boilerplate you like, create a repo, clone it whenever you want to use it. Has everything been coded and we're just rewriting newer forms of it? That's always an interesting idea, isn't it? It's based off the premise that all stories have already been told, and we are simply writing a different story along the same theme. What I would say is no. Um, in our lifetime, there's never been machine learning up until recently. There's never been AI. There's never been self-driving cars. There's never been an app to pick you up as a taxi. So it all sort of depends. Do I like working remote more? Um, Nowadays, yeah. But mainly just because it stops an hour and a half round trip commute and it saves money, and it's nice having my dog walk up into the room and say, "Hey, how you doing?" It's nice walking down and grabbing lunch with April rather than just eating by myself or with a teammate. Not that there's anything wrong with my teammate, but I happen to like my girlfriend more than anyone else in this world. So that's just how that rolls. uh, all right, guys. We're at about an hour. I'm getting a little hungry. I'm also gonna go to bed early because God, it's amazing how you throw your sleep off by like an hour and a half and you're just dead all day. That's how I've been feeling. Um, Podcast episodes come out every Monday. And if you haven't checked it out, it's at selftaughtornot.com. And if you haven't checked out the latest course I released, which is in the bestseller category in, what might you say, front end web development, because we're killing the game, you can. It's the 100 front end interview technical questions challenge, which is a full mouthful, which you can get for just $9.99 with 100 of the most common front end interview questions that get you up and going. Make sure you answer those questions. Um, do I take requests for podcast topics? Yeah, shoot me a message on LinkedIn or email, and if it's good, we'll talk about it. Because we have to come up with about 5 more topics, so definitely open to it. But with all that being said, guys, thank you so much. I'll see you next time.